10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is November 8th, and I'm sorry about not making an episode yesterday. There literally was not that much going on, so there was some stuff, but it wasn't enough to get an episode out. So I'm here today with a little bit more full episode. So let's get started here with Mav, who made this protocol update. He's saying, hey everyone, I'm trying to get that wonderful place known as JFK Airport in New York, so this will be a quick one. The community call is slightly later time, starting in a couple of hours. You can join Jasper and Langers for a bi-weekly governance special from Discord event, which has been updated or here. And then there's a link, and it says the bi-weekly update is also available now on Medium. And then there's a link, and it says on the Open UX survey and paid interview opportunity, it's closing in less than 24 hours. So I've talked about that on Rocket Fuel a few times. If you are all interested in that, follow the link in the description and take part in that. And it says, looking forward to seeing some of you in Istanbul soon, Rocket Pool. So let's first of all talk about the bi-weekly update, and then from there we will go to the Twitter space. So Mav, the first covered the protocol update. So RETH supplied actually went down by 0.02%, which is an annualized decline of 0.5%. The current amount is 535,403. Then the packed active pending mini pool count grew 0.6% to 25,235, and the node operator count increased 0.9% to 3,326. So those numbers are kind of been flat for a few weeks now, but I'm really hoping that we'll see some of that pick up soon. With a smart node, the work is continuing on version 2 and preparation for Houston. With the R&D, here Mav says that with Houston audits and Istanbul are both imminent, the team has been busy preparing to ensure that the next two weeks run smoothly. So he says the RPL inflation allocation has been updated as well, and there's a link to the Discord for that. With governance, he said that there's some big votes that are live. So there's 3 votes about different RPIPs, and then there's the GMC membership selection vote as well. But that's going to close before the others. So make sure that you get voting if you haven't voted already. Then we have Gov Alpha shared some governance and DAO participation recommendations. The GMC Treasury report was available. There's further discussion about on-chain PDAO replacement. RocketSplit asking for testers, and we're going to be talking about that later. The GMC's round 5 results were made available, and then there was some news of integrations. So the IMC worked with Polygon and Balancer to deploy a new type of RETH pool on ZK EVM, which is Polygon's EVM, ZK EVM layer 2. And then we have Prisma launch drove significant demand to RETH, which we'd covered before. Radiant launched mainnet supporting lending and borrowing of RETH. And then CoinLedger now supports RETH in their tax software. Then we have media marketing. Here we had a call. Guests were OpenUX. We had Nethermind, and we had Equilibria. And then Jasper chatted with Tapioca DAO, Langers talked with the Defiant, and Mav talked with Yearn. And then it says, speaking of Yearn, the community member listed paid 1 ETH to get RETH vote added to the vote for inclusion to YETH. That vote, of course, failed because MEV-ETH bribed YETH at the end with $50,000, and people went for that instead. Then we have some content about RETH DeFi opportunities that were created by Beefy and Vespa Finance. And then strong trading activity resulted in the RPL token trending on CoinMarketCap. This is interesting. Justin Sun started following the Rocket Pool Twitter account. This was after unstaking about 200,000 ETH from Lido. So I'm wondering what he's going to be doing with that ETH. And then he says RPL was listed on new centralized exchanges. So there's information. Of course, do your own research before interacting with any of those. Okay, next, the other part we talked about was the Twitter space. So here we have the Twitter space, which was with Langers and Jasper. They talked about DevConnect and the staking convention. They talked about the governance votes. So here they talked about the different votes that are passing. And one of the things that was really interesting that came up during this discussion was about when the smart contract updates would happen for the different votes that are taking place. So as you all know, a couple of the votes require smart contract upgrades. However, the Houston contracts are ready to go to audit in 2 weeks' time. So they are already at a feature lock. So there's no way that this stuff will be included in the Houston upgrade, which, hopefully we'll get in Q1 of 2024. The next upgrade after that was supposed to be Saturn, but Langers said that Saturn might be broken up into 2 different upgrades. One of them would be to kind of include lots of these quality of life stuff that's been going on that we haven't had time to do, and the other one potentially would be mega pools. I think they're still in the early stages of discussion of how that's going to go. There's of course no timelines, no projections, anything like that, but these audits have to be planned months out in advance, if not many months out in advance. So it's looking like, and this is just my personal opinion, there is no guarantee from the team or indication from the team or anything like that. It looks like we would get Houston in Q1 of 2024, and then we would get a so far unnamed or Saturn, which will include quality of life stuff, not necessarily mega pools, in about Q3 maybe of 2024. And then we would get mega pools with Saturn or whatever else that upgrade might be called in maybe Q1 of 2025. That's just my estimations, just my ideas of what might happen. Of course, all that is subject to change. We have no firm dates for any upgrades, at the moment. We can just make inferences or projections, and of course, they're possibly wrong. So definitely keep that in mind before you write down those dates on the wall or something. But it's interesting because one of the things about mega pools is that we would really like to have forced exits on the Ethereum mainnet before we implement mega pools, and what it looks like that probably won't happen until the update after Cancun and then up with Dencun, which it looks like is getting pushed further and further back, right? So Houston has no dependencies on the Ethereum mainnet, so I think the timeline for that is quite stable. However, forced exits and all these other things that we really do want to have in the protocol, it looks like they're not going to be coming until maybe March now of 2024, which means that the following Ethereum update that might have forced exits and other things might not come until the end of 2024, maybe like Q4. So there's too many variables at the moment that are going into Rocket Pool's upgrades, and there are too many dependencies. So I think the ideas that we had as a community, and that I sadly promoted in lots of places and kind of championed, might have been too enthusiastic. But let's stay on top of what will be coming, and as soon as I know more, I'll definitely let you all know about that. Okay, then we got something around the end of the call. Right as the call was finishing, I said, Jasper, can you ask Langers, when website? Because we've been waiting for that for a while, and we had this idea that it might be around DevConnect, which is happening in Istanbul next week. And Jasper didn't catch that message in time before the call ended. So Jasper, once the call ended, he replied to me by saying, Mav said it was going to be during the event, meaning DevConnect, and the roadmap after DevConnect. So this was really great news. And it seems like Mav shared this information at the end of the Equilibria call. And then Jasper says, Langers, do you want to chime in? And Langers says, sounds like Mav has spilled all the beans, but yes, website launch during DevConnect. So according to that, we can expect the new version of the Rocket Pool website available on, next week, hopefully. So that I think is really cool, and I'm really excited to see it, and especially with the roadmap as well. The week after, I think it might be time to get Langers back on Rocket Fuel and let us tell us all about all these changes that are happening. But yeah, website next week. It's not really an announcement of an announcement, because this wasn't really an announcement, but it's really exciting that we will be getting the website really soon. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, next we had some math that Patches spent the last couple of days doing. Here we had Sneaky asking a question. I wonder if there's any correlation between a person's whaliness and high collateralization, or vice versa, or if it's pretty evenly spread out. And then Patches says, maybe I should make a new bot command, box and whisk a chart of mini pool count a given collateral percentage. So I think Patches kind of took that to heart, and he really kind of was enthusiastic about getting that done. So I think this was later that day. He made like a first draft, I guess, of what that might look like. And I guess what this shows you at the bottom is the ETH amount on the node, and then the y-axis is the percentage of collateralization. And it looks like almost everyone either has very, very small amounts of RPL, not like thousands, like I think Thomas's node there was outlier. So then people started asking questions like, where are the labels, or, the scaling and all of this. So the whole community was kind of working with Patches, and they were working with Patches to try to get different ideas of what it should look like. So here, he made it into a log with the node TVL, and kept the collateral percentage percent borrowed of collateral the same, and it kind of like produced a little bit more interesting data. And he spent a whole lot of time just refining this this chart and table and and refining it further and further, and adding more and more details to it. And the people just kept asking for different features, and he kept implementing them, like color coding and like all sorts of stuff like that. And then he kept working on it, and in fact he kept working on it all the way through to yesterday. And then he says, I've officially spent too effing long with Matplotlib. I don't know what the name of that software is, but yeah. Anyway, this was the final form where he reached. So he had two different charts here, where one is kind of like a heat graph, and one is it looks almost like a bar chart, but it's not quite a bar chart. The tables ended up looking really nice, and you can punch in like your node address, hopefully, and kind of see where you fit on that scale. So I think what we kind of saw in the end was that it's not really necessarily about whaliness and high low collateral. It looks like it's kind of spread out quite a lot. It's just we have a whole lot of people with fairly low node collateral overall. Like in terms of number of nodes, we have, I think, just as many under 64 ETH in total as we do above 64 ETH. So that was definitely really interesting to see. Thanks Patches for putting all that together. Okay, next we have this discussion about Invis trolling Jasper. But first, what I want to start this discussion with is this point right here, where it looks like the deposit pool is going to go back to 18,000, and at 18,000 is where you can start creating validators by arbing a premium on RETH on the secondary market, which currently there is a premium for that, but it's not been possible to arb it unless you are a person selling your RETH as a RETH holder, but not as a node operator. You can't arb it. So that just kind of sets the context. So Jasper was getting really happy that we're going to be back to being able to arb this, and how there's only like a small number of validators that need to be brought online before we can do it. And he's kind of like counting it down. And then here we had Invis saying, hey guys, I suddenly feel like doing some transactions. And this is kind of reference to Invis trolling a few months ago, where it was a similar situation where we hadn't been able to arb the deposit pool for a while, and then Invis released some locked up ETH into the deposit pool, and Jasper got really upset. So we're kind of in that same situation, and then Invis was like, I suddenly feel like doing some transactions. And I said, are you going to somehow send hundreds of ETH to the deposit pool again? Jasper's going to be so pissed. And then Jasper said, Invis, don't you effing dare. And he says, I will be pissed, genuinely. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because eventually it kind of led to a discussion. So first of all, Noshua, I asked, what exactly is the process happening here? Like, where does this ETH come from that can be added to the deposit pool that Invis is talking about? And it turns out that it's distributing here. So it says that there's ETH that has been, it's undistributed, and this can go to the deposit pool. So Noshua here says there's something between 381 up to 4,659 ETH that could potentially reach the deposit pool if Invis was to do those transactions. And basically the conversation around this point kind of changed, where Noshua was saying things like, this issue is well known and the team hasn't really covered it. Is that also willfully hurting the growth of the protocol? So at this point, the conversation kind of pivoted away from the Invis trolling to actually becoming a slightly more serious conversation. And then Jasper says, sure, you can say the team has some complicity, but it's not moral equivalency. So, Noshua says, I'm just tired of things not getting done. So this is something that's been brought up, many times. There's a lot of issues that Noshua feels, have been brought up many times that haven't gone anywhere. And this conversation, the way it pivoted was, away from Invis trolling towards a kind of a productive conversation, or people sharing grievances about updates happening to the protocol, and how they take time, even though they've been identified and solutions potentially found out. They take a really long time to get to mainnet, but also that there's the team haven't hired enough, and all these different issues that were kind of being brought up. But I think that was that's a really interesting discussion. If you want to follow that, then definitely give some of this part of trading a read. But here, Valdov says, Noshua has been asking the team to hire people since 2021. A number of important things have gotten changed after he pushed for them over and over, more than a year later, but sometimes 2 years later. And he says, I get and respect almost any level of frustration from Noshua, to be honest. And then other people were kind of talking around about that as well, and kind of talking back and forth about what that means, what it means run a lean team, and what it means, if the team is too small compared to the amount of work that people think needs to be done or should be done. So even here, like Jasper said, Langers apologized again last night on the Twitter space for not moving fast enough about getting new hires. But it looks like, we've hired Fornax now, which is really great. And it looks like a junior developer is coming on board in January. So that's all great as well. But, here, there's this, there's just different ideas about basically when work should be done, and who should be doing it, and all that kind of stuff. But this whole conversation was a really good one. So if you've got, a few minutes, then go and check that out. I think there was a lot of really interesting points that were brought up. So you can go have a look. Okay, next we had this comment from Long for Wisdom. So a couple of days ago, Long for Wisdom was talking about creating a dashboard where people could go and see what bounties are outstanding, and what needs to be done for them, and what the initial bounty request was that got approved, how much money is willing to be paid for that particular bounty. So a couple of people we talked to Long for Wisdom and saying that the team are actually working on having that information on the new version of the Rocket Pool website, and he was, I guess, Long for Wisdom still kind of wanted to play around with the idea and see what was there. So he says, this is a very early bounty board. I've not implemented much functionality / styling yet, but feel free to comment and add suggestions for what you want to see. So let's go and have a look at what the board looks like. So like he said, this is just really rough. So it's got a list of all the different bounties that are open, and it's got the amounts that the GMC is willing to pay for those bounties. Some of them are USD, some of them are RPL amounts, and those numbers, of course, came from the original bounties themselves. Then people started giving feedback. So Val says, can we get currency toggles? Choose if it's RPL or USD. And then Not You says, is there a plan to a history of the paid out ones already? Val says that already exists in arb-able, which you can find on GitHub, and I think Schifrin maintains that, and then there's a link to it with the completed bounties. Ramana says this is awesome. It seems like it could complement or precursor my idea for an issue tracker with points incentives for contributions, especially for the pre-grant bounty contributions, i.e. val work. And then they were just kind of like talking about that. So yeah, this is just some examples for a mock-up, but it's nice that I think it might be that this could somehow, like if it's more robust, could be integrated with the or replace the page that's going to be on the Rocket Pool website. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Long for wisdom. Okay, next we had this video that was uploaded by the RocketSplit team, which is a grant that the GMC is funding, and I think these are guys from Long Island Blockchain. Yeah, Long Island Blockchain posted this video, and in the video they talk about setting up a node using the marriage contract. So there's like a front end, and it shows you how you can like set the different parameters and get all the information, the transactions that you'd have to do, etc. And I think it goes all the way through. I haven't actually been able to watch this video yet, but it tells you about all the different steps involved about setting up a node using the marriage contract, the RocketSplit contract, that they're getting a grant for. So that's really nice. If you want to watch the video, and they're looking for testers right now as well. So if you are interested in testing the RocketSplit contracts, that would be, I think, a really nice thing for you to do. Okay, next we had news of a new update for Nimbus. So Nimbus is there's a new low urgency update, version 23.10.1, which is a hotfix release addressing peer scoring issues introduced in 23.10.0. It says this issue manifests under specific network circumstances as a buildup of gossip topics with low number of peers. Affected users are advised to upgrade at their earliest convenience. So this is low urgency. It says update at your convenience, sometime within normal update cycle of 2 weeks. But if you're someone who's suffering from this issue, then definitely bring it up. Definitely update before that point. Next, we have this issue that people have been talking about for quite a few days. So here, Meg had this post from a couple of days ago saying, my chrony config. So what's happening here is that people are changing the way your node knows the time. Right, so the idea is that if your node isn't able to see the time properly, it might cause some issues with attestation performance, or God forbid, proposal performance. And what Meg did here was kind of change some parameters to use, I think it was to use Google as the chrony system, like the timekeeping system, instead of the default. And people, I think we covered this in Rocket Fuel a few days ago, but I'm not 100% sure. And then people say, it looks to be significantly different already. And here, there's a screenshot from Rocket Doc saying the seconds has come down drastically from 500 milliseconds to like in the 10s or 20s of milliseconds, and the synchronization drift, time desynchronization drift, basically going down a lot. And then there's an update like where there was a guide from CoinCashew where you can read about it as well, about how to do it. So this discussion was kind of going back and forth, and people were setting these screenshots of their graphs looking much nicer, and time synchronization drift like getting lower a lot. And then Hodger got in part as well, and then here Dietz got in touch as well, and they were also kind of sharing their screenshots. And then there's a CoinCashew guide if you are interested in doing that. It's kind of like a step-by-step guide, kind of like Joe's docs for RocketScan. But eventually what happened is Fornax came along, and he was like, I'm not sure, he says it had no impact on my setup other than the drift graph looking better. That graph is very different because of the max error that gets reduced a lot, but actually the actual error with the price settings was actually very, very small. So then Atomic Whale here as well kind of did a little bit of a further deep dive, saying after digging further, I have no doubt the effectiveness in the chrony setting. I'm not I have doubts in the effectiveness of this chrony setting thing. I'm not sure how node operator measures this max drift, about 200 milliseconds, as chrony is supposed to get your clock within a few milliseconds. So it says it probably doesn't do anything apart from making a graph look nicer. So yeah, it looks like it looks like it's not going to have too much of an impact on your attestation performance. And some of the people who were claiming that, the attestation performance has increased according to rated.network for their node, that might have been correlation, not necessarily causation. Okay, so next I want to talk about this the premium a little bit. So the premium right now is about 0.5%, and we talked about how that really hasn't been arb-able recently, and sadly that's a good chunk of money right there, that you can't arb right now. However, as we've talked about, the deposit pool is getting closer and closer to being at that stage where it is arb-able. So I think there's a few people in the community who are kind of ready with their fingers on the trigger to kind of arb that. However, there's something that people should keep in mind is, these there have been a few instances recently of people withdrawing their mini pools, and this was happening over the last few days, and it looks like there might be potentially a few thousand ETH about to hit the deposit pool again. So depending on when that hits the deposit pool, it might be that we just about to kiss that arb-able spot and then get pulled away from it again. So definitely, if you are waiting for there to be an arb-able opportunity, keep a very keen eye on the deposit pool today. Maybe today, but I don't know how long the opportunity is going to last. And like I said, there's about 0.5% of premium that is potentially arb-able. So earlier on it was a little bit less, it was just about 0.33%, but since then it's gone up to about 0.5%. So if you are really waiting for that premium, then get your fingers on your keyboard and get ready to start those mini pools, because it might be happening at some point today or within the next few hours potentially, if it all comes together. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.